What's up, team, and welcome back to week number 6 of the modules. And today is a really interesting topic because at this point in the journey, we've kind of got our footing with certain things, but we are noticing that we're not perfect. We're making mistakes. We are not maybe making progress as fast as we want because life gets in the way, things happen, etc. And the question that comes up is, should I actually be really giving myself a kick in the butt, or do I need to give myself grace? I'm not sure. And we actually have a very difficult time separating these things. And so what we're gonna learn today is knowing when to give yourself that kick in the tush, when to give yourself grace and self-compassion, actually how to do that, and what does it look like to go either way. So this is a topic that I love because I think without this kind of context, we can take it too far in one direction or too far in the other. For example, the extreme of giving yourself grace all the time often can lead to complacency and not getting anywhere and not moving forward in your goals. However, the other side of it is kicking yourself in the butt so much that you actually are just self-deprecating and it's holding you back. You're also not getting anywhere, or you're running yourself into the ground. So both of those are bad. The answer to this question is always, it depends. Any good coach, practitioner will tell you it depends, but we'll tell you what it depends on. Depends on the situation, the frequency, your typical tendencies, all of the above. But what you need to ask yourself in the situation is, all right, I fell off track. Do I give myself grace? Do I give myself a kick in the butt? Should I be hard on myself? Should I be easy on myself? And the question you need to ask yourself is, in that moment, with all the tools and the knowledge that I had at that time, not with your hindsight now, did you do your absolute best to stick with the plan? And if the answer is yes, you have to let that shit go. Pardon my French. You have to let it go because you did the best that you could with the knowledge that you had, even if it didn't add up to the results that you wanted. And also, when we're falling off track, we have to ask ourselves, is it actually impacting the results that I'm seeing? Is it actually something that I need to be worried about in terms of the overall progress? That's something that typically your coach can tell you, because some people, some situations, you might be messing up at a certain frequency that isn't actually impacting the bigger picture. We here preach that you need to be at least 80% consistent, which means 20% of the time you're gonna fall off track in some way, shape, or form. There might be a situation where you've fallen off track, you're being really hard on yourself when you don't need to be because you're actually making plenty of progress in the long run. But on the flip side, if it's happening all the time over and over again, and we're giving ourselves that same grace and not really brainstorming solutions, that's when giving yourself grace can become unproductive. And so it's really important to honestly just open up with your coach when you're not following the plan, when you're falling off track, and asking these kinds of questions. Like, should I be hard on myself right now? Should I be telling myself, suck it up, do better, or things like that? Or should I be actually being kind to myself and giving myself grace? And these are really tough questions to answer when probably your whole history of your fitness and health journey with weight and your body image typically is like all one way or all the other, depending on your personality and what you've been kind of raised on and taught on in the past. So let's talk about it. Option A, you gave everything you had with all the knowledge that you had. So the answer is you've got to let that shit go. So what does that mean in terms of giving yourself grace? This would mean practicing what is called self-compassion. So self-compassion is comprised of 3 parts. Number 1, mindfulness. Number 2, common humanity. And number 3, self-kindness. And so these 3 components are how we can practice self-compassion with ourselves in ways that maybe we haven't before. So mindfulness, the first component, is really thinking about the fact that our thoughts don't define us. We have over 60,000 thoughts per day. Most of them are negative. And so when we mess up with our fitness goals, it's no different. We're having negative thoughts, and there's thoughts like, you're a failure, you suck, you can't do this, you don't deserve this kind of progress. Very quickly, we can often absorb these thoughts as truth, when in reality, they're just thoughts. They don't have to define us. And so practicing mindfulness means imagining you're sitting on the side of a river and the water in the river is passing by. So the water in the river is your thoughts, all of those negative thoughts passing by. Not practicing mindfulness would be jumping into the water and getting swept away by the rapids. Practicing mindfulness is sitting on the side of the riverbank, not letting that water touch you or hit you, but seeing those thoughts pass by. We don't have to accept them as truth, and we can be kind to ourselves in not self-deprecating in such an internalized way. Number 2 is common humanity. We often, when we are being hard on ourselves, self-isolate. That's the opposite of common humanity. We think, I'm the problem, I'm the only one that's going through this, I'm terrible, and no one can fix me. When in reality, the struggles that you're going through, fortunately, are things that many, many other people have had. Falling off track on your diet, missing a workout, and just being overall in a struggle bus is something that everybody goes through in different ways, shapes, and forms, which is why we like to foster community here at PCC with our office hours, with our group chats, with little challenges that we do, because we want you all to see that you're not alone. And lastly, self-kindness. The opposite of this is self-judgment and being really mean to yourself. Think about the things that we often say to ourselves in the mirror and the negative self-talk that we have. Would you really say that to your best friend? And the reality is we would not talk to anyone the way that we talk to ourselves, and we're being very unkind and very judgmental to ourselves. So when you are practicing self-kindness, you're practicing speaking to yourself as if you were talking to an external friend. And sometimes imagining yourself as an external friend can help you with that practice. So a practice for this that we really love is writing a letter to yourself, apologizing for a lot of negative things that you've said to yourself in the past or about a particular situation, and apologizing for those negative thoughts that you've internalized. So practicing self-kindness can be a wonderful way to wipe the slate clean there too. If you did give your all, you gave your best, you fell off track, you did the best with what you could, you have to practice self-compassion, let that shit go, and practice being kind to yourself for that situation, because you really didn't know any better. You did your best. Then you can work on taking future actions that are more in alignment, because you're not bound by shame and guilt and negativity and these feelings of failure. Now, let's say the answer is the opposite. You didn't do the best with the knowledge that you had, and you actively ignored that, and you made a decision that was out of alignment with your goals. One way that we can actually troubleshoot and shift these actions moving forward is with a method that I absolutely love and adore called the ACT method. And this is a way for us to accept the fact that we did deviate from information we knew and what we know we should have done without shame, without self-judgment, still practicing self-compassion, but redirecting our actions in a more productive way. ACT stands for accept, choose, and take. So let's talk about it. When we deviate from what we know we should have done, we often feel a certain type of way: shame, guilt, negativity. Why did I do that, right? So the first thing we need to do is actually practice acceptance and compassion. Accept the emotions that are there. I'm feeling shame, I'm feeling guilt. Well, actually, that's a good thing, because it's showing us that we care about something and we've broken that trust with ourselves about something that we care about. That's an interesting way to flip it, right? To look at it of, oh, I feel this way because I care about a certain, a value. We have strayed from our values, something that's important to us. And in this case, that thing that's important to us, the value is centered around our health, maybe our commitment, our discipline, our follow through, something like that. And so accept and really investigate, what value is this telling me that I care about? Rather than getting down on yourself for the feelings themselves, get curious. What are these feelings telling you? And then that's where C comes in. Choose a value that tells you, what do you really care about here? And so the value might be commitment, health, follow through. It might be consistency. It might be perseverance. Whatever the value is, identify it. We have a whole list of values that'll be below this video that you can check out and brainstorm. What do you really care about based on the action that you took that was deviating from that? And then from there, you're going to want to take an action based on the value and not the inciting situation. For example, if the falling off track was you overate, then taking the action based on the inciting situation might be restricting your food intake the next day, when that's not in alignment with the value of maybe health or commitment or consistency, right? So taking an action based on the value might mean planning your meals for the next day to hit your targets versus restricting and under eating. And that is one great way to reroute with self-compassion and making sure that you are in alignment with your values when you do fall off track, and there's no need to really beat up on yourself either way. That, my friends, is how I recommend you give yourself that kick in the the butt and practice value-driven actions rooted in self-care. Lastly, I will distinguish one more thing for you all, because this is often one of the guises that gets us falling off track in the first place. The mistake of thinking that we made the decision despite what we knew because we were practicing self-care. When in reality, when we fall off track from our goals, we're not practicing self-care, even if it feels justified, because self-care is something that has kind of become an umbrella term that actually encompasses 3 separate categories that are a little bit different. Number 1, self-care. True self-care is doing the things that you know you need to do that move your goals forward. The biggest thing about self-care is that it's productive. It moves you forward in your goals, and it's typically stuff that is difficult to do or actually requires discipline of you in order to move forward. Now, there's 2 other components here under this umbrella: self-comfort and self-indulgence. So self-comfort is neutral. It doesn't move you forward or backwards, but it gives you comfort in the moment. So it might be, in some cases, taking a rest day from the gym. It might be, in some cases, snuggling up with a warm blanket or having a snuggle sesh with your pet, but it's neutral. Self-indulgence is the biggest thing that I think we often call self-care under the mask of self-care, when in reality, it is counterproductive. It is moving us backwards from our goals. So this is making decisions in opposition to our goals, and we are indulging ourselves. For example, deviating from the diet plan, eating overly indulgent foods, skipping workouts because we're tired or we have additional reasons. When we are self-indulgent, we're moving backwards, and that's really important that we're not mistaking it all for the umbrella of self-care. And that's another way that we can give ourselves that kick in the butt of really being honest and asking ourselves, did I fall off track under the guise of self-care when really it was self-indulgence? And can I redirect my actions with my values and with self-care at the forefront? That is my take on when to give yourself grace versus when to give yourself the kick in the butt. Self-compassion, the ACT method, self-care, self-comfort, self-indulgence. Let us know if you found this helpful, and we'll see you back here in the next one.